Hello and welcome to the Holiday and Cruise Clinic. I'm Phil Hilton, and today, as usual, we're giving our panel of travel experts a good going over with some of your questions on travel and cruise related items. But here's a reminder first of all, if you do have a question, of how to get in touch. Our website is www.holidayandcruisechannel.co.uk. Just click on Programmes, select the clinic page and submit your questions to us online through the website. If you want to email us directly, it's clinic@holidayandcruisechannel.co.uk, or you can write to us by post as well. To the Holiday and Cruise Channel, Cavendish House, Brighton Road, Liverpool, L22 5NG. Now we're talking airports today and airport security, how to get through them quicker and how they can help you get a really good holiday off to a great start. With me is Robin Tudor, who is Head of Public Relations for Liverpool John Lennon Airport. Robin, welcome to the Holiday and Cruise Clinic today.
Thank you.
Now we'll get stuck into security because it's often seen as a bit of a pain, isn't it, to the start of our holiday? You know, we really want to be
evil.
Yeah, we really want to be in the sun, don't we, straight away? But we've got to go through this.
Absolutely.
So, how early is it, or what would the best time to arrive at the airport? How much time do we need to give to get through to the flight?
Well, it's really important. I mean, we've seen over the years passengers who unfortunately have left things too late. They arrive at the last minute thinking they could just kind of like saunter through the airport. And if you do that, and there's a delay, could be a delay at security, you may have your own problem at security, then you can miss your flight. So it's really important. We always recommend to our passengers, look at what the airlines recommend, because different airlines have different procedures. On average, we usually say at least 2 hours. But to be honest, I mean, if you think about the journey to the airport, you could hit delays there, totally unexpected. The more time you can give, the safer it can be. Very rarely do we get queues in security and police say these days. I mean, on average, last summer, for example, our busiest summer ever, we were seeing queues around about 10 or 12 minutes at its worst. But if something went wrong, there could be some technical problems with equipment, you just never quite know. It may take longer, so the more time, the better. Now,
I'm not saying this is true of Liverpool, but if we're in the queue to go through to the detector and everything, and we suddenly see people pushing past saying, excuse me, you know, because I'm late or whatever, should we let them through?
Well, I'll please say it's not your decision. I mean, we've got staff. I mean, you do get people doing that, and sometimes, to be fair, the airlines will intervene if, for any reason, they know they're missing some passengers who, for whatever reason, have been caught up perhaps in traffic, getting to the airport late. Yes, they can be brought forward, and we can make exceptions, but I have to say it is rare because it's very unfair on everybody else that's queuing up.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're at the airport. We've made allowances to arrive there a little bit early to make sure we can clear security before we get to the gate. What about the things that we should and shouldn't have in our hand luggage then? This has been the big bone of contention and a big learning curve for us all, hasn't it?
Absolutely, and the regulations keep changing, which makes it even more confusing for everybody. The golden rule I always say to people is the more you can put in your hold luggage, if you are going on holiday for take a week or 2 weeks and you got luggage, the better. So try and restrict what you take through hand luggage. Certainly be very, very careful when it comes to liquids. There are allowances for liquids that you can take through, but wherever possible I would recommend don't. And liquids, of course, are not just water and perfumes. Toothpastes, gels, creams often also fall into that category. So check with you can check with the airport website. We've got information on our website. Airlines and even the Department for Transport have got a lot of really good information, so you don't make those mistakes.
And you can go to the supermarket, can't you, and get sort of airport size shower gel and things
That's
like
right.
this, can't you?
Yes, you can, because there are limits on the amount of sizes, and you also have to have a set plastic bag of certain dimensions, clear, see-through, transparent plastic bags. So you've got to think carefully about what you're even taking those liquids in as well. These
are all very prominent in the Tudor household, of course, because you're really organised. You've got everything there ready for when you go on holiday. I like to think so, but I have to say I sweat like everybody else when I'm in that queue, because you just never quite know, have I actually forgotten? And lo and behold, something's in the bag, but rarely, I'm pleased to say. Okay, low airfares, and in particular airlines that specialise in low-cost airfares, come into a bit of bad press recently, haven't they? Well, for quite a while, for stinging you at the check-in for extra money because your bag's the wrong shape or it's too heavy or something like that. What can we do to
get around those and be as prepared as we are for going through security?
Yeah, again, it's a bit like planning your journey in advance. Plan your the way you book the flight right from day one, because to be fair to the airlines, everything that they do is very clear and it's on the website, it's laid out, and if you don't abide by some of their advice and precautions, then yes, you can well pay once you get to the airport. If you look very clearly at websites, they'll tell you the exact weights that you can take through and hand luggage. If you go over that, what the cost will be. Very clear when it comes to hand luggage, the dimensions. If your hand luggage is too big, again, you will be charged for it. So prepare in advance. When you're making the booking, read the instructions and details very, very carefully so you don't lose out when you get to the airport.
And if you are thinking of upgrading your luggage or changing your luggage, I did that recently, and you can get luggage of a fairly reasonably priced luggage as well that is the right dimensions. It's actually sold as being airport aircraft friendly.
Absolutely, because there's almost a standard size now that I think people will adhere to. So yeah, manufacturers are kind of switched onto that, and they portray these bags very much as you say, as aircraft friendly.
Now a little tip which perhaps you can clarify for us if we are booking a flight online through a low-cost airline. A flight that leaves in the morning might be a little bit more expensive perhaps than the one that goes in the afternoon.
Yeah, we certainly always say check if you've got a choice of flights to go from. Check what day of the week, because if you tend to want to have to go towards the weekend, if you don't have to go to the weekend, then it can be cheaper to travel in midweek. If there are 2 or 3 flights a day, you often find everybody wants to go on that first flight, so they get there in plenty of time. If that's not really important to you, you often find the flight later in the day can be a little bit cheaper. So again, look at the range of flights that are available.
Okay, well, moving on, if we've decided where we're going, we've paid for our flight, we've got all our luggage in order, all our fluids and everything are all the right shape and size. Do we want to take our time and go a little bit of a stress-free option maybe that I know you do in Liverpool and other airports obviously are available for this too, business lounges, you know, the pros and cons. I've done a bit of both, you know, and I can vouch for either being good. It just depends what kind of holiday I tend to find.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's something that we've had at Liverpool ever since we pretty much had the low-cost airlines. A lot of people associate business lounges with business travel and first-class travel. These days, it isn't. Anybody can use these lounges. You can either book them online, which is always the way to do it because you can save money, or you can pay on the door on the day. But yeah, it just gives you that little bit of extra space, if you like, to chill before your flight and relax and take it easy, particularly if you're travelling in the peak of the summer season.
And just give us a little bit of a clue, Kenny Robin. What's for those of us who haven't seen the inside of a business lounge at Liverpool or anywhere else, what lies behind that little security cordon? Yeah,
it's a bit like a private club, if you like. Effectively, so you've got anything from televisions in there you can sit and watch. There's like complimentary newspapers, there's complimentary drinks, which is usually the big attraction for a lot of people, and there's can be snacks and other refreshments available, which, and particularly if your flight may be delayed for some time, it can really come in very helpful and very handy to pass the time, if you like.
And is there somebody often there who can come and jab you in the ribs and say your flight's due?
Absolutely, there's always somebody there on hand that can like manage that lounge. There's screens in there telling you when the flight's departing, and if you need any assistance information, then there's somebody on hand to give you that.
And if you are larging it in the business lounge, then you might want to also as an option in Liverpool and as I say other airports too, you can speed your process through security a little, can't you?
You can, yeah. I mean, something we introduced a few years ago, we were the first airport in the UK to do it, was called Fast Track. So basically, if you are travelling at the very peak time, could be the first wave as we call it in the early morning in the peak of the summer season, where security can take a little bit longer because the sheer volumes of passengers coming through, there's a system that you can pay effectively to go straight to the front of the queue, and you speed down your way through security. You've still got to go through the same checks, you've still got to think carefully about all those liquids, but it just means that it can reduce that waiting time. So you're paying to speed your way quickly into that departure.
It's like having your one-to-one security man, is it?
It's almost, yeah. It's a very similar way that the airlines have some EasyJet have speedy boarding, so that you're first to get on the aircraft. Here you're effectively kind of like prioritising yourself quickly through security.
Just interesting, you just let me thought of something there. If you do want to have a particular seat on a airline whereby normally the seating isn't allocated, or say for example you've got baby with you or something, you want to be near the front, is there something that the airport can do for you to get you onto the plane a little bit better? Because it can be a bit of a scrum sometimes.
That's true. I mean, certainly what the airlines do, I mean, it's very much down to the airlines how they board that flight. Those travelling with young children and babies and infants, almost certainly nearly all airlines as a priority automatically board you first. However, people can pay by, say, EasyJet have a system, I think, called Speedy boarding, so that you can actually pay a little bit more money. Again, you pay for it up front in advance, and you will be the first to get on board that aircraft. So again, you can then choose which seat you want to go for, whether it's window, aisle, or front or rear.
And if I see a grey-haired chap with a trendy pair of glasses on going ahead of me, I know, oh yeah, look there, there's somebody doing speedy boarding.
The difficulty we have is that, I mean, I work at an airport, and because it's all low cost, not even we get the discount, so I pay just like the next person, of course.
There you go, no perks then. Okay, getting to the airport then, you obviously got an option for public transport. Certainly at Liverpool, public transport's a lot better than now you've got Liverpool Parkway, and a lot of airlines are becoming a lot more integrated, aren't they? A lot of airlines, a lot of airports, a lot more integrated in terms of how you arrive at the airport, because car isn't always the best way, is it?
That's right. I mean, for some people it may not be an option. Some people might obviously use taxis and private hire cabs. But you're right, public transport is getting better and better all the time. And at Liverpool recently we had National Express starting new service feeding into the airport from elsewhere around the country. So there's a lot more opportunities, and at really good value as well, and operating throughout most of the day. It's just making that little bit, giving passengers a little bit more choice, effectively. You can park right on site of the airport. It's the most convenience option, and it's really good for us as an airport to sell as much car parking as we can, clearly. Yeah. So again, it's about convenience, and you pay for what you get, but the choice is there, importantly.
Have you ever seen any of the remaining Beatles go through the airport?
We know they have. They tend not to go through the team. We've got a private sort of general aviation air, if you like. So yeah, we've seen a number over the years, and I hope we'll continue to do so.
Okay, well, Robin, just stay there for a moment or two, because I want to come back and talk to you about routes and places we can fly to from Liverpool and general airport travel in a few moments. But we're talking to Robin Tudor from Liverpool John Lennon Airport today. And don't forget, if you can fly to a number of cruise destinations, can't you, where cruise ships go from Liverpool John Lennon Airport, which I'll be talking to Robin in a few moments' time. But if you want to get hold of one of our two guides, or both of them, there they are, First Time Guide to Cruise Holidays or our Guide to Family Cruising, have one or both of them, just give us a call on 0871 423 4444. Calls will cost you 10p a minute from a BT landline, and calls from mobiles and other networks may vary. Some useful information for you, and we'll see you after the break with more of your questions. Welcome back to the Holiday and Cruise Clinic with myself, Phil Hilton, and we're talking to Robin Tudor today, who is Head of Public Relations for Liverpool John Lennon Airport. So if you have any particular questions about airport travel, or how long it takes to get through, how much time you should leave aside before your holiday, then do stay with us over the next 10 minutes or so. We'll try and get as many questions answered as possible. If you do have one for another programme, then here's how to get in touch with us. Our website is www.holidayandcruisechannel.co.uk. Just click on programmes, select the clinic page, and submit your questions to us online through the website. You can also email us directly, clinic@holidayandcruisechannel.co.uk, or by post as well to the Holiday and Cruise Channel, Cavendish House, Brighton Road, Liverpool, L22 5NG. Now, as I mentioned, with me today is Robin Tudor, who's Head of Public Relations for Liverpool John Lennon Airport. You're a bit of a seasoned traveller yourself, really, aren't you, Robin?
I've been around, as I say.
Yeah. Must be quite an exciting job, though, being, in charge of what an airport has to say, and conveying all the news that it makes.
It is, and it's something that's changed over the years as well. I mean, particularly with the advent of kind of low-cost travel, so more and more people can now afford to use airports, which, not too long ago was the privilege of a limited few, really. So yeah, it's exciting times.
So more people tramp through your airport now than ever did. Is that the case?
We did, yeah. I mean, last year we had just over 5 million passengers in the summer months. I mean, we had our busiest August ever. Wow. Which is a kind of sign of the times, really. So yeah, it's a very busy airport now.
Oh, good. Okay, well, let's hope that may continue, because we're all looking for a bargain, aren't we, for our holidays?
Absolutely.
And often air travel is one of the cheapest ways of getting to wherever you want to go to, be it on a cruise or a poolside holiday. I'm sure we'll be hearing more about your holiday exploits before. I'll certainly get you to talk about them before the end of the programme. But let's get back to a couple more questions on how to make the airport side of your holiday as quickly and as easily as possible. I think that it's always nice to buy stuff when you're at the airport, isn't it? The retail is a very big part of the airport experience, isn't it? But is there any difference between the retail you get when you go into the airport through the sliding doors and the retail you get when you've been through security? You know, it's almost like you don't get any duty frees really anymore, do you?
I mean, the whole system has changed quite dramatically over the years, and you're right. I mean, certain destinations are still duty free if you're travelling outside the EU. Within the EU, it's tax free, so it's still discounted goods, particularly compared to some of the high street prices. So there's still some really good bargains to be had there. But you're right that there's been a change in the last few years where most airports, Liverpool included, has moved a lot of our retail facilities that used to be before security to actually now beyond security. The reason being because of the security constrictions, restraints these days. People used to buy lots of liquids and shampoos and perfumes perhaps before they went through security, and then of course the restrictions came in and now you can't do that. So at airports across the world these days, you're finding that it's a case of check-in, straight to security, and that's where the kind of like retail departments all really open up very much.
But there's no truth in the rumour that you get the other side of the security barrier and, oh, the price has gone up quite a lot.
Absolutely not, no. So when it comes to duty free, it's actually cheaper, I'm pleased to say.
Okay. Now, talking of finances, there's a certain amount of tax which is included in the airfare or the holiday price that you buy, which a lot of people think goes to the airport itself.
That's right. I mean, it's a bit of a misnomer, really, but it's often referred to as an airport tax. But whenever you buy a flight ticket and it's being incorporated in the price of a charter package through the airport as well, there's a percentage which is called an air passenger duty, which is a tax. It's an aviation tax. It doesn't come to the airport, goes straight to the Treasury. And we as airports get very frustrated because people think it comes to us, and actually the Treasury then go and spend that money on the railways and other infrastructure, which doesn't actually come back to improve airports. So we lobby very hard to try and see that change in the future to help passengers as much as anything.
Yeah, so it doesn't go to make a nice plush office chair for Robin to sit in.
Absolutely not. I wish it did, but unfortunately not. No.
Oh, that's good news then. So we've established so far that preparation is quite important. Arrive at the airport a little bit earlier than perhaps you might think to give yourself time to clear security and things like that, because quite often, being a busy airport, you won't have one flight leaving and then half an hour later it's another. Several might be going at the same time.
Absolutely. I mean, our busiest period for the whole day for us is from around about 4:30 a.m. onwards, because the first wave, as we call it, departures, there's something around about 18 to 20 departures, all wanting to get away within about an hour and a half of each other. And you can then imagine the number of passengers that are going to come down to the airport to get through that first peak period. So it's a time certainly when we always recommend to people, just allow that little bit. It's better to have time and sat relaxing in a lounge rather than worrying you're going to make that flight or not. And
if you have managed to put your hand in your pocket and bought that extra little bit of money to get yourself a reserved seat on some of the low-cost airlines, there's no danger you're going to be ending up on the bus with everybody else then, is there?
Well, I mean, you're right. I mean, what they've learned from their lessons, because that used to happen. You may still share the same bus, but what they cleverly do now is they have one door where you get on and there's one door where you get off. And if you're first on, you will be first off that bus. That's the most important thing.
Okay, all right, that's good to know. You've got some interesting things happening at the airport this year, haven't you? And I want to talk about places where we can fly to in a few moments' time, but certainly as far as the airport as an attraction is quite an interesting place to go and have fun.
It is, and we listen very carefully to what our passengers say, and again, it's the same at many airports across the UK and beyond, that particularly on the retail side, particularly in terms of facilities, what passengers need. So we've changed what we have available for passengers quite dramatically. If you go back 10 years ago, there were very few facilities, be it to eat and drink or to purchase goods, and now there's a huge array of some big high street brands to give people that confidence of using products and services that they would normally use on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, I mean It does sound like the airport is obviously quite a serious place where health and safety is very important, but actually having fun and enjoying it and making it the starting point of your holiday is quite key for you, isn't it?
It's really important to us. I mean, our number one priority in running an airport is safety. Always has to be and always will be. But we want to try and make sure the travel experience is as relaxed as possible for passengers. We want people to go away, have a great experience, and want to do it again and again and again. And you know, we've even introduced a scheme called Fun Day Friday at the airport, so that at certain times throughout the year we get entertainment down there, so that even when you're at the airport we can still even entertain you, just to give you that little bit of an extra special start to your holiday.
Are you going to book, say, the Bootleg Beatles or someone like that?
Well, we've had that sort of thing. We've had Irish bands when it's been St Patrick's weekend. I mean, certainly when it's Beatles Festival here in Liverpool, it's a big thing for everybody in the city, as you know. But Christmas time, again, that's just gone. We had a lot of big promotions, and again, so looking after children as they come through and entertaining some of the children in the airport, just to give parents a little bit of breathing space as well is also very important.
Now, you've been very lucky with the weather this winter so far, haven't you?
we have, yes, fingers crossed that this mild weather continues and we don't see any snow and ice, that's for sure.
Yes, you haven't got any snow ploughs you've recently bought stuck under cover just in case then?
Well, all the equipment, I mean, come the August is when we dust down what's called our snow plan, and we check all the equipment and get everything ready just in case. We hope not to need it, but if we do, then we're ready and waiting.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, let's just run through a little bit of a recap then to say how far we've got with our early arrival, checking your fluids and everything like that, enjoying yourself, relaxing, taking a bit more time, and obviously you've got the luxury options if you want them for a lounge or a fast track through security, things like that. Now that sounds pretty good. Let's talk then about where we can go to and some of the destinations. I mean, it wasn't that long ago whereby you could only fly to a limited number of areas, limited number of countries, with Liverpool particularly. What's that like now?
It's a huge contrast. I mean, you're right, not that very long ago there was a few key airports in the UK that you could start your holiday from, and that was it. These days, regional airports is a huge choice, and Liverpool is a great example. I mean, there's now very few kind of Mediterranean destinations that you can't get to be honest with you. But other destinations across Europe for things like city breaks, not just in the summer season. We do quite well with skiing breaks these days to a lot of the various Italian destinations and French destinations. And you can get on you can go for weekend breaks. You can look at say 1 week, 2 week packages. The whole array is there and available for passengers today. And at prices which are considerably cheaper than not that long ago as well.
What would you say the advantage of maybe going to Liverpool as opposed to one of the bigger regional airports?
I think it's the advantage of small is beautiful to a large extent. I mean, it's difficult to get lost. I mean, it's difficult to miss a flight because, the gate is 3 miles down the road and you've got to walk down to get to the gate on time. Compact airports are what people like. And that's difficult as we get bigger, clearly. But it's that kind of hassle-free factor and the friendliness. I mean, we make a big play at Liverpool of being as friendly as possible. We've got certain set tasks we have to do, but let's make it a pleasurable experience. It's very much the forefront of what we do.
Well, let's talk about the future for a moment, Robin, because you've hinted to the fact that things, well, obviously we can see things have progressed, you got bigger over the years. What about the future? Is this expansion going to continue, or what can we look forward to?
We hope so. I mean, certainly at this moment in time, with the economy as it is, I mean, everybody's feeling the pinch, and so I think a lot of the airlines, certainly over the next 2 or 3 years, we expect to see a period of perhaps some consolidation in the whole of the industry, be it for holiday and business travel as well. But certainly longer term, we're very confident in the future. We think that passengers will continue to want to travel. The airlines are very keen to grow their business and offer new destinations and increase frequency in other destinations. So very much continuing what we've been doing over the last 4 or 5 years, really.
And you'll be making use of the airport as well, will you, to go and fly off somewhere?
I like to, whenever opportunity I can, and it's the usual way that, when it comes summer holidays, and I'm restricted like many to doing it around school holidays, so you've got certain set times when you can and can't go, but yeah, it's a great great airport to start a holiday from.
What was your last holiday?
My last holiday was, we had a big family holiday actually, so there was I think about 19 of us descended on Crete, and we rented a villa for a couple of weeks, which again was very much kind of like do it a DIY holiday. We booked our own flights, booked our own accommodation, booked our own car hire, and you can do that these days and have a very affordable package that perhaps you couldn't have done a few years ago. Right,
okay, well maybe we can talk to you again sometime and talk about cruising. Perhaps you'll have been on a cruise maybe.
I think that's got to be on my hit list, definitely.
I think so. Okay, Robin, thank you very much indeed for talking to us about how to make the airport very much part of your holiday and how to make it as smooth as possible when you go off to the sun and enjoy yourself. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us today. That's Robin Tudor there, who is the Head of Public Relations for Liverpool John Lennon Airport. Reminder, if you are thinking about cruising, here are our 2 guides. There they are. First time guide to holiday cruising, and also the family guide as well to cruising too. If you've ever thought about cruising and you've got a whole bunch of questions, some great answers in here for you to have a look at. You can have one or both of the guides with our compliments if you just ring this number 0871 423 4444. Calls will cost you 10p a minute from a BT landline, and calls from networks and other mobiles may vary. Well, that's it. That's all we've got time for today. My thanks indeed to Robin, and we'll talk to you again with more of your questions on the Holiday and Cruise Clinic. Till then, from myself, Phil Hilton, goodbye.